Hey there. It feels like we're always talking about ways to support the network, but we have a super easy one. If you want to go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar, you can find some links to Amazon. Now, those are affiliate links. So that means if you go to Amazon through the links on Duckfeed.tv/tipjar, you can buy whatever you're going to buy, and we get a small cut of whatever you spend. So that is a wonderful way to support the network, make sure we can continue doing shows like this without incurring any extra cost to you. It's the same Amazon, same stuff, same thing you're always going to, go for and buy. But it does help us, continue talking about video games for fun. So again, go to duckfeed.tv/tipjar. We appreciate everybody who takes the extra step.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
You're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a diseased, crumbling favorite.
I was about to say same, but who knows? And this week we are talking about your responses to Hyper Light Drifter, another game in our indeterminate, amorphous, indefinite off-season.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you guys for responding.
Yeah, a lot of you had thoughts about this game.
Yeah, it's a popular game. And a good one, as you mentioned. I'll get us started here with Stuart. Stuart says, Hyper Light Drifter makes an incredible promise with its intro and aesthetics, and then spends the entire runtime making me regret being sucked in. I can't do it. Even on easy, I get so frustrated so quickly from so many moments. This must be what turned off some of my friends from Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to push through. Like I quit the early build. Yeah. I said so. I had the same moment where it's like I knew I was coming back to it, but like I had a moment where I was like, this is just not worth my time.
Yeah.
It does, like, I'm not trying to encourage you to push through, Stuart, but it does have this really kind of bizarre difficulty curve. Like after you get some upgrades, it will get better.
Yeah.
And you could actually, if you're dying on an encounter, go poke in, do an inroad in the next one, and get a couple upgrade things. Like even if you can scrounge together like 6 batteries to buy 2 upgrades, it will make a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
If you have any interest. If not, though, I also think that you're not missing Game of the Year material or anything.
Yeah, it's so it's kind of hard because like it makes a fantastic first impression from an aesthetic standpoint, and it's strong pretty much all the way through, Ninja Frogs notwithstanding. But its mechanics after the tutorial, when you get up to the north there, it is, it does make a bad first impression there. I might have a hard time saying, like, I don't know if I would have powered through if I wasn't playing it for a show. Like I probably would have gotten discouraged or distracted in a way that, if I didn't have that drive pushing me through it,
I feel like I would have, but only because of like word of mouth stuff. So like my old roommate, Will, like former Houseboy alum and stuff, he's really sweet on it, and he told me about it. And then on the forums, like people on our Slack channel and stuff, I've had conversations with them that were just like, no, really, like stick with it.
Yeah.
So I might have been convinced to, but my initial, in a vacuum, no.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, I would have got to the first bullet hell frog encounter that I had to restart with 1 health over and over and over, and be like, or 1 Estus. Yeah. And just be like, yeah, this isn't good enough. Yeah. And it is just, again, it is a rickety pile of like, it's a scaffolding where everything holds up something else. Like the solution seems to be to start with more verbs, but that ruins something else, which then ruins something else. And you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So, it sucks that New Game Plus is the same thing with 2 health, because the idea of playing it just on what I want is all verbs unlocked normal mode. And that would be fun to me to give it a shot. I think if I was going to play it again, that's what I'd want. So.
Yeah, especially so like that early stuff, you could come back to it with a renewed vigor and capability.
Yeah.
Nick writes via contact, I really enjoyed Hyper Light Drifter, but a large part of it was ruined for me by an achievement. After overcoming the final boss, I'm presented with the Bully achievement. Fuck this game with its ambiguous narrative for trying to make me feel like a bad guy for playing a video game. P.S. I don't know what the coughing fits and hallucinations throughout the game were trying to accomplish, but they failed. They are boring, repetitive, and aggravating.
Yeah. Yep.
Agreed on the last point. I don't know. It's like we commented on the achievement name. That's a really good argument for not reading achievement names.
Achievements are, I mean, like this is an old hat for me. I think they're generally harmful in all ways. Yeah. And this is just another one. Like every time I, look at another game, I can find another way that achievements are just bad and shitty. Yeah. And this is one of them. That kind of, I mean, it speaks of like a larger thing though. It reminds me of somebody pointed out to me, we covered Castle in the Darkness for Check It Out Comrade, which is like a indie, like retro style platformer. Yeah. And they have a easy mode that you can play. So you play it, it's a very hard game. You put on easy mode and you can just walk to the right and the credits just start after you get to the thing. There's no boss. Or the boss dies in one hit or something like that. It's very like, it's kind of cute, but also really condescending. Yeah. To people who want it. And like, there are obviously bigger fish to fry. There are actual societal, like, justice things in gaming. But as far as like a general trend in games, like this has now unseated my annoyance at the, Ubisoft map checklist nightmare. Every video game being the same thing, which is like, oh, this trend sucks. Yeah. Like I hate this. This kind of like, nya, fuck you for not being hardcore enough. Trend is now my least favorite thing that I'm seeing in games more and more. Yeah. And
it's been around for like, it's been laying dormant for a while. Like Ninja Gaiden, you would fire that up and play the easy thing and it would put a dog's collar on you or something.
Yeah. 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 It's not, I mean, if you wanted to make like a real serious kind of justice argument for it, like there's like part that's kind of ableist. Like maybe people are not capable of doing the thing. Mm-hmm. But even if you don't want to take it that far, there's a part of it that's just kind of shitty. Yeah. This is art and this is fun and this is a recreation and this is not a litmus test of your like quality as a human. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exclusive for sure. And also you want to, ideally, if a person is not to the point where they can really jump in and kind of be crazy about this, you would want to help them grow into it. Like, obviously you don't want to compromise like what you intended for this thing, but also don't, punish people for taking an option that you laid out for them.
It's a tone thing is all it is. Like, where it's, and I'm not saying you don't make hard games, but when you're just like, we're going to difficulty fuck your brain. Yeah. And we're going to make fun of you if you don't like it. And like all these things, this adversarial relationship between me and media is not something I like. No, like imagine like if a book did that. Like, I mean, I guess like Finnegan's Wake, but like imagine if like a TV show did that and they were just like, listen, wuss, you're not going to be able to get it. Yeah. Like you can make a dense show or make a dense piece of work that is adversarial in a way. Like it requires you bringing a lot of yourself to it, but nothing is like, only games will like mock you for it. Yeah. Yeah. It's horse shit. I don't know. I have no interest in bullies. Yeah. Like, just to call the achievement name.
That's why we react poorly to get good. Yeah. Like the yes, Dark Souls has the whole prepare to die or let's die again or die again harder. Die. Die free or die hard. Any of those. Like so, it does a little bit of the work for itself, but like that is the result of people latching into Demon Souls and saying like, yes, anything like this, we're going to do that work for you by like scaring people off.
Yeah. It's a marketing thing too. Like, and who knows, like everything is complicated. It's a complicated world. So like if they didn't do that, maybe it wouldn't sell enough and we wouldn't have these sequels because there are people that it appeals to. Yeah. It's just, we talked about this at the end of the Dark Souls thing, but it's just not me. Yeah. And it's fine if you like it, if like, you're just like, man, hurt me more. Mm-hmm. I want a game that's going to make fun of me for not being good. Yeah.
Just pour vinegar into my dick eye. Like, let's go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Sound me with a vinegar icicle, senpai. If that's you, great. But I'm it's crystallizing in me that like, that is so not me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We just keep running into it.
We do. So taking it back to, something more apropos of this, I have no idea why that achievement is called Bully. Like, it's an achievement for beating all of the bosses that are available, including the optional mini bosses in the South Zone. there's nothing. I mean, like there's a little bit of pathos to some of the bosses, but like there's been nothing to lead me to feel bad about putting these things out of their misery.
Is the idea that like, oh, we should have given the archer a chance? Like there's not enough like context or story to these things to do that. It's just a joke. It's a goofy. It's a joke. Like somebody had to name an achievement. But and it just ended up being kind of a shitty joke.
But it's not like Deus Ex or Dishonored where there's an inherent, at least gameplay moral judgment being put, like if you resort to lethal violence.
They're not people. Like they're like robot monsters that we know nothing about.
Yeah, like
so there's not enough context to have any understanding.
Yeah, the only compelling case for like, oh, this is kind of sad that I'm killing this person is the hanged man. The crystal corrupted raccoon knight. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So I don't know. That kind of thing doesn't work for me. I don't truck with that.
No.
Either.
Yep. There are plenty of reasons to feel bad. I don't need the game to make me feel bad too.
I like a game that makes me feel bad, but it has to be
that's what I mean. Yeah, there we go. Like I didn't mean to put a blanket statement. Like
I just mean like the issue is not that it's trying to make me feel bad. It's that's unearned.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Brian says via contact, Hyper Light Drifter was one of my favorite games from last year. The beautiful graphics and moody music, like Nausicaa mixed with Gamma World, were of course a big part of it, but the gameplay sucked me in. Once I got used to the combat rhythm, I had a blast searching for secrets, finding the monoliths and outfits, fighting my way through the ruins of the ancient world, and taking roughly 500 screenshots. Sadly, the almost useless map prevents it from being a top-tier game. With the amount of secrets to find, there should be a way to mark the map for places you want to return to, or at least a more precise location than this general area. We figured this out in Super Metroid 23 years ago, and I have no idea why Hyper Light Drifter took a step back from that. That game's combination of simplicity and utility. Ryan, God help you if you play Salt and Sanctuary, my friend. you are gonna have a rough time with that one. If this is your point, like you're gonna have a hard time.
Well, I mean, just there's no map as opposed to a non-functional one.
But it needs one more than this.
Yeah,
and does not have one.
Yeah.
Being able to mark a map would be a really cool idea for this, because I talked about that in the jail, like never going back to that door. If I'd made a little note on a map that was like, "Hey, come back here when you have a key, dummy."
Yeah.
Maybe I would have done it. So.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It's we related our problems with the mapping system in this. Again, you just have to figure out how it works, and that does not mean that your expectation is invalid when you walk into it, because yes, they did, like an exact map or a useful map, a la Symphony of the Night or any of its ilk, is a thing, but that's just not what they were doing, and that is unfortunate if it doesn't match up with what you want.
And you wouldn't have lost that much for that. It's not like Symphony of the Night or Super Metroid aren't full of secrets.
Yeah.
They're just hidden in different ways. It doesn't mean you have to put every little room that leaves the, that goes off the map on the map.
Yeah.
And that becomes a different way of anticipating things. Like I love in Symphony of the Night where you like, oh, like it seems like there should be a room here. And then there is.
Yeah.
A
little bit of something that'd be done really well in Isaac.
Yep.
Yeah. Randy writes in with a counterpoint, actually. So this is via contact here saying, what's that?
I said fight. Listener pawns.
Yeah. One thing I found pleasantly surprising about Hyper Light Drifter, though it seemed to be a point of contention among many players, was the implementation of the world map. The abstract representation of the world, wherein the geography and the player's location within it are, at best, approximations, helped to emphasize the sense of exploration by forcing the player to think about their surroundings in relative terms rather than absolute. We are meant to make our way through this blasted land with a tourism board's faded pamphlet rather than Google Maps. And this breeds an intimate relationship with the terrain that I find to be the game's strongest relation to the Souls games. We are meant to recognize landmarks and large-scale relationships between areas, both above and below ground, and think of the world as a dense web of rooms and paths. I recognize that not everyone feels that this game is very successful in this respect, and I can see where that sentiment comes from, but it managed to pluck a particular string for me and proved resonant. Having not played the game since the week of its initial release, the Bonfireside Chat episodes might get me to do a run with the alternate Drifter, which I never got around to doing, which is a shame because A, she has different mechanics that seem dope, and B, she is cute and good, which is my core aesthetic. The alternate drifter is it's a costume you can get which dresses you up. It's like a Anubis. So you have the jackal's head, but the drifter's body. I am not sure how the mechanics change though.
I will put in a link in the notes. I also did not know that.
Yeah.
As I did not know what that did.
Yeah. So yeah, and people who expect us to be very thorough with this stuff, it's off season. Please extend us a little bit of
we're just doing more. So
yeah. So the alternate drifter, this is something I read about. It's something that's only available to Kickstarter backers. And it was given like in some kind of obscure update later on. I got a couple outfits in this game, but I changed into them. I didn't really notice a difference when I did. Yeah.
Even though, I think that there are alternate costumes. I just assumed it was a palette swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking at the wiki, she is a humanoid clad in a wolf skin and only has 3 hitboxes. However, her main attack is a medium range projectile or beam, which deals AoE damage. So I'm not sure if that just replaces her gun or if she is purely a ranged character.
When main attack makes me think it replaces the sword.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that does sound cool. I like the idea of being able to do, different things. And having 3 hit points as opposed to 2 is such a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because it's different from being able to be one shot or not.
Yeah.
So that does sound interesting. Like if I ever get around to playing this, my ideal mode would be New Game Plus on normal without, with full health.
Right.
But that sounds interesting at least.
Yep.
Bruce says via contact. I love this game. I only heard about it when Giant Bomb talked about it on their Year End Award podcast, and I was looking for a good Souls-like to hold me over until Neo, and Hyper Light Drifter was perfect. I've never seen a game use visuals so well. Seeing the screen darken with black rain and the Drifter coughing with his head down, it struck a chord with me. He was fighting his way through the world alone. He was sick and facing incredible odds, but he pressed on. It's inspiring, and something I feel like we can all relate to. Everyone faces problems that are their own. Things no one else knows about, but we press on because it's all we can do. I feel like dialogue or text descriptions might have taken something away from the game. The player is invited to figure things out visually. I imagine a younger player would have no problem understanding the simple pictures shown to communicate the story. It's a simple story told in a simple way. It is perfect. I like that aspect of it too. I'm not going to use the P word about it, but I like that as a thing about it too.
Yeah, that stuff is more. It's more resonant with just the stories that are internal to any given spoke. Like I enjoy seeing the struggle of the frog people, or the otter people, or what have you. That is
some animal got fucked,
right? So yeah. It falls down a little bit, like when it gets to like describing what different power ups do, like when the rubber hits the road with the mechanics, and I'm making decisions about how to use my limited resources that I probably spent a lot of time getting. But those little comic stories, the sequential art. Those work for me in a big bad way. The story about a personal struggle with some kind of adversity, I didn't get it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. And you're always going to find in a thing like this, especially something as impressionistic as this is, what you bring to it.
Yeah. I mean, more or less same. Like I feel the same way. Like the pictograms from the different spokes were very cool, and I like them. I didn't like that they kind of told a very similar story each time.
Yeah.
Just like what happened to this, what happened to this area tended to be really samey to me.
Yeah.
It was taken over by like a different faction or a different outsider thing, or just kind of taken over, quote unquote. It needed a gameplay reason to be hostile, or a narrative reason to be hostile.
Yeah.
So that like they were cool looking, and I liked them in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
But this game kind of in general terms failed to touch my heart at all.
Yeah.
Even if I did end up liking it quite a bit.
Yep.
But again, like I wouldn't take that away from you. Like if it worked for you on that level, like that's great. And there are things that touch my heart that don't touch your heart and everything. It is super subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Yost says via contact. Or is this me or you?
This is me. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But yes, Yost writes in. I think that we have mispronounced their name in the past, so I apologize. They were very kind and provided a guide this time, and we'll try to remember that in the future.
And if you're writing in and you think that these two idiots might have a problem with that, If you want to include it in pronunciation guide, it's not obligated to. Yeah. But it would be appreciated, and we would, we'll do our best to pronounce your name right.
Yes, we want to make sure that we get it right. So Yost writes in, I was particularly happy to discover how local co-op was implemented in Hyper Light Drifter. You can switch a second player on and off whenever you like, seemingly without consequences. My girlfriend and I played through good chunks of the north and east parts of the game together, and playing with two characters creates all kinds of opportunities for interesting tactics, like one player luring enemies to the other. On one or two occasions, when we ended up having to repeat a challenge encounter too many times and she got frustrated because she's not interested in the Souls-like challenge, we just switched off the co-op and she joined the game again when it was time for exploring further. Keen to have some part in the quest for vengeance for all of those slaughtered puppers. Yeah.
I didn't do any co-op stuff. I just play this on my computer in my room, but that's a cool idea.
Yeah, that's a relatively recent addition, like last fall, I believe, like sometime in November. Co-op, it was something that was talked about in the Kickstarter campaign that just they didn't feel comfortable deploying until it was ready. But that sounds good. Like, this would be a fun game to watch, I think. And the idea that you can join in without a huge investment seems like it would work very well. And apparently Yost is confirming that it does work.
And without like a nod to balance kind of things. Like, one of the things I like about, because Isaac has co-op, but it's really hard. It ups the challenge considerably. It's a huge resource drain, things like that. The anti-birth thing that they added was just here's co-op with just two Isaacs, which it will be easy, but that's okay because sometimes you want that. Yeah. It's you're not playing this competitively against people. You don't have to worry about leaderboards and scores and unlocks and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So I like a co-op that is generous. Mm-hmm. Usually when I'm sitting down for co-op, I'm not looking to get, flavor fucked in the difficulty hole. Like I want to.
Oh God! I just pictured like a Cool Ranch Doritos Locos going into some kind of ersatz receptacle.
Slot.
Yeah.
And finally, Kyle says, "Why contact?" I think you guys are going to play the game on easy, so I'll just give you some quick thoughts on New Game Plus mode, where you start with all your previous upgrades with a max of 2 health bars. How does this change the game? This is very useful, Kyle. Thank you. Yeah. Well, for starters, the poor get poorer mechanic isn't all that relevant because while the Estus items are still useful, the game strongly encourages you to avoid taking damage. Next, you learn to use the Reflect Projectile and Dash Shield abilities a lot more because they're both valuable in avoiding taking damage. Finally, while the other bosses aren't too tough with a full arsenal at your disposal, the final boss, and especially the North boss, are very difficult indeed. You can take a hit from the birds the boss summons, but otherwise you'll die in one hit. Being this boss was one of my peak gaming experiences and gave me a huge adrenaline rush. I ended up learning the fight well enough that I beat him on my first try the next time I did a run through the game. I never had the experience of perfecting my technique at beating Dark Souls bosses because I don't like the frustrating camera problems and run-ups in those games. But because Hyper Light Drifter took both of those problems, took them away, I was able to experience something everyone else seemed to with Souls. And that's one reason why I love the game so much. New Game Plus is just the icing on the cake. I'd recommend it for anybody who likes the combat mechanics of the game. I think Kyle is Weekref on the Slack channel.
You're correct.
Yeah. So thank you, Kyle /Weekref.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely good to know.
Yeah. The poor mechanic that we mentioned before was, I believe he's referring to guttering out with very few Estus, right? Like you just will get caught in a checkpoint loop where you only have one or no med packs left to you to recover.
And this is I could be wrong about this because this game has gone through a lot of updates. Mm-hmm. When I first played it, I recall it being you not starting with it not saving your health at checkpoints. So you would go into an encounter with 3 health, then start the encounter over with 0 because you used them all.
Oh God!
And I have a distinct memory of doing that in the Frog Zone, and that was 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. So I could be wrong about that, but I had there's very concrete memory of that. So I think that was something they added. That's like the very, very poor get poorest kind of way you can do things. And we talked about that a lot in the Momodora episode, how they avoid that with the having all consumables reset and stuff. So if you bring you use a consumable for a thing, you're not going to have to just do the harder version after you fail.
Right.
So I like it, but I get that that kind of boss rush feeling. I didn't get that a whole lot for this game because weirdly and I didn't play it on super hard, but like the bosses were not super hard. They were all just real fun for me.
Yep.
It was more encounters that kind of fucked me over.
I might actually go back and do the literal the boss rush mode that they put in, because with all the upgrades that I might have on top of that, it'd be pretty good, because I do enjoy all the bosses. Like it would be it'd be fun to do without kind of some of that. I mean, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound very ungenerous, without that filler of the arena combat leading up to it. I might do that before I uninstall the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So thanks everybody for writing in.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say about Salt and Sanctuary, you may still have time. Should we take that out? Like, I don't know when we're going to record that episode.
I mean, it's definitely going to be not definitely. Maybe go ahead and write in.
Okay. Yeah. Like write in if we miss it. Mm-hmm. Your thing. I imagine like not tons of people are going to write in for Dark Mouse. So like we'll get it sometime.
Yep.
Yeah, so please write in if you have anything to say about that.
Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. What else can they do, Cole?
Well, you know, if you've caught us here in this off season, we are a Dark Souls show. We're talking about Dark Souls informed stuff. You can go to bonfireside.chat and check out all of the previous episodes of the show. We've talked about the entire Dark Souls series. You know, there is the hypothetical person who just tuned in for Hyper Light Drifter. You know, if you're looking for a way into that series, you know, all of that is there for you and will be there, and we welcome you to check it out.
Yeah. Yep. And if let's say you are getting into let's do a quick shout out to some of the other shows on the network. If you are just getting into this, we have a lot of other shows. Mm-hmm. This is the magical time during Bonfireside Chat off seasons. Essentially, we duplicate another one of our shows.
Yes,
which is the flagship for the podcast or for the network, which is Watch Out for Fireballs.
Yeah. That is where Gary and I, every 2 weeks, we pick a game to talk about. We do a very slightly more zoomed out version of what we do here. Normally, it's pretty similar to what we do in the off seasons, but usually retro games. But we sometimes vary it up. Recently, we've done Dishonored 2, and that episode has received some praise. People seem to enjoy it. So that is there as well. That is Watch Out for Fireballs.
Yes. You can also listen to really a host of other things. We cover lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So we have File Underwater, which is the newest show, which is about the music of REM. Mm-hmm. We have Radio Free Midworld, which is about the Dark Tower books.
Yep.
Days of Future Cast, which is about the X-Men animated series. Mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, plenty of things. We started out mostly in video game stuff, and we're making a concerted effort to expand beyond that. But there is, some video game stuff. Like, go check out Abject Suffering. That is a show that Gary and I do that is nominally about bad games, but is mostly kind of a comedy show where we use the game as a springboard to talk about whatever we were going to talk about anyway.
Yeah, and that's really fun.
Yeah,
that's our goof show. Mm-hmm. If you like goofs, you will like that show.
Yeah.
And then just check out the network in general. Yeah. Other stuff kind of comes through too, especially most of that stuff is only available to patrons. You go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, but little bonus videos, little like just kind of side content and stuff, being able to vote in polls for things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think that's, kind of a good overview. We, if you want to camp out and check this stuff out, we're more than happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Until next time, what should they do, Cole?
Well, I think last time we set up some kind of weird hypothetical about hot pipe and some kind of malevolent contractor who would take the roof over top of you. So watch out for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad dad.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
All right, cool.
All right.